There's a lot that goes into saving passwords to a database. Items like security, hashing, salting, rainbow tables, and more are just the beginning. How do you know if your application is truly secure? And how do you properly authenticate a user? These are questions that I get daily, and I want to put this video together to solve any doubt you may be experiencing. If you're new to the channel, I'm Eric Roby, a software engineer with over a decade of experience, and I've helped thousands of developers learn and grow within their craft. Alright, so this video is about how to store a password to a database. So you're gonna have your backend application and you're gonna have your database. And they're somewhat connected, right? Because the backend application needs to store information to the database, while the database needs to be able to send data back to the application. So what happens if your database gets hacked or there's a bad actor that you've hired onto your team? Well, your database is available, right? So if they go ahead and just look through the user's information, they're going to see different passwords like I love to code, Milo my dog, password 3, password 4, password 5. But what we actually want to happen is for all of this data to be hashed. So what's that mean? Well, it's going to mean that you really just can't make out what it is. So for example, I'm just going to have like 5 different rows of stars. That's not what a hash is, but what I'm trying to communicate is that a user or a hacker or a bad actor cannot use that data. So we need to communicate to the backend. So let's say we have an API endpoint that is register/user. Well, we might pass in a username of Coding with Roby, and the password is going to be test1234! Well, when we submit that data, it's going to come over as plain text to the backend application. And now the backend application needs to do something before we start storing and retrieving data from a database. So what does it need to do? So how do we hash the password now? So hashing the password means we are changing that plain text into something that no one's able to decipher. So if the password is test1234, we're going to want to pass this text into some type of hashing algorithm. And then we're going to save that algorithm response. So if we pass in test1234, we hash it, we might get something like this, something that is completely unreadable. Now, this is not the plain text password that a user is going to be submitting. This is the hashed password. Now, a hash only works one way. So we are hashing test1234! into this sequence, but we can't do it backwards, right? We can't unhash it and say, hey, if based on this password, what is going to be the plain text password? It doesn't work that way. That is called encrypting. Here, we are simply hashing. So what hash to use in this situation to be able to get a unique hash? Well, hashes can be broken up into 2 things, slow and fast hashes. In modern development, we want to go with a slow hash. Now, these 3 recommendations, which is Argon 2ID, bcrypt, and PBKDF2 are 3 standards that you can use when hashing a password. Now, some of the fast solutions are known as deprecated. You don't want to use them in your application anymore. This could be MD5, SHA-1, and base64. Now, base64 is not a hash. It is an encryption, so it can be deciphered backwards, but a lot of applications use base64 as some type of security. It is not secure at all. You can undo it. So I'm throwing that in there because if you search in the internet, you're going to see a lot of base64 examples. Those are not secure examples. You want to go with Argon 2ID, bcrypt, or PBKDF2 if you're going to be using your own hash in your application. So how do we hash the password, right? Let's say we're going to be using Argon 2ID. How do we hash the password? Well, we're going to be passing it as plain text. We need to use the hash algorithm to get the password, but we can't do it the other way. So if we pass in something like test1234, we are going to want to do something called salting, which means we are adding our own logic, which is probably going to be randomly generated from the application itself, and we're going to salt the password. So let's say the salt that we're adding to the end of the password is called this is a salt added 009. So before we even hash the password, what we're going to be doing is adding a salt at the end of the password. Now, this salt allows the application to be significantly harder to hack. That's because the hash at the end is going to be the hash of the plain password plus the salt instead of just being the plain password itself. So then when we go ahead and use the hashing algorithm like Argon2ID, we are going to get a password sequence of Argon2ID, and that's going to give us a bunch of generic hashing characters and letters based on the password plus the salt. So how do we store this in a database? Well, what we don't want to happen is for us to have like 5 user IDs and their passwords are plain text. We want to do something similar, but the user one might be salt with a salt1, and the password is going to be whatever the hash creates, right? And each time we're going to have a different salt. Now, what you can see is the salt is going to be in plain text, and that is okay. The salt is allowed to be in plain text as it is just something that we add at the end of the password. This protects against a popular brute force attack called rainbow tables. Now, a rainbow table is a pre-generated way of hacking hashed passwords to see if we can create a match based on the most popular passwords there are. So if you hack this, you might already have the hash of I love to code. You can then compare the hashes to see if they are the same, or pass them through some application that'll hash it so we can do verification to see if they're the same. Now, if there's a salt, this makes it significantly more difficult because you don't know if the salt is added at the end. You don't know if the salt is added in the beginning. You don't know if the salt is added between the plain text password. You don't know where the salt is. So it's going to turn off a lot of hackers because they don't want to go through all the time of trying to figure out where a salt fits in. So a salt can be plain text, and the salt is going to be plain password plus the salt hashed to equal this password at the end. Now, how do you validate a password then if in the database it's all hashed? Well, you're going to have your backend application and you're going to have a salt, right? So in the database, you're going to have a salt for a user. So if we're talking about like user ID 5, you're going to have a salt 5 and you're going to have the hashed password. Now, when the request comes in through an API endpoint or whatever it is, you know you have the plain text password, which is test1234! You then go ahead and you fetch the salt, and then you hash it using the same algorithm that your application's using, which is hash password plus salt. And whatever the hash is of password plus salt should equal whatever password is saved in the database. Now, there are different types of like hashes that will calculate the current timestamp and do a whole bunch of things to make sure that hash is completely unique. You may need to use the SDK that is available for that hash. So if it's bcrypt or Argon2ID, there's going to be an SDK where you can then call a function called verify. Now, the verify function might say, what is a plain password? What is the salt, and what is the hashed password that you're trying to compare it to? And inside the SDK, it can do some crazy things to say, yeah, this actually is unique, even though the hash passwords might be different based on timestamps or something like that. But you're going to probably want to rely on the verify functionality inside the SDK itself. Now, quickly, if you're interested in how Argon2ID hash can be implemented in Python, I have a video right here, and I will see you in the next. Bye.